But love, if that part of your life is not right, no amount of money and no amount of achievement makes up for that. Never date a guy who says he's looking for some fun. We have become desensitized towards building an emotional connection. I mean, there are so many red flags. We could write a paper on this.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Girl Talk with me, Priyam Narayan for What's Up Live. Today we have Sami Wunder. She's helped 1100 plus women get engaged and find their soulmate. From her beginning as an economist to building a 7-figure love coaching business, Sami's work empowers high-achieving women to embrace their femininity and find success in life. So welcome Sami. We are so glad to have you here. We're looking forward to some great insights into figuring around dating life, how we can navigate a relationship and more. But first things first, you transitioned from a gold medalist economist to a globally renowned love coach with clients over 90 plus countries. Why did you stop pursuing your corporate career and what pushed you to going and pursuing love coaching?
I'm so happy to be here, Priyam. Thank you for having me. And I think my career transition came from two things mainly. One is my own personal struggles in dating. So I think, just wanting to have a family, wanting to have a good relationship, but not knowing as a high achiever how to get there. And then having a man that I thought was the one for me break my heart and tell me, Sami, you're a wonderful girl, but I don't think you can receive the love I'm offering you. I think that was my wake-up call in life to see and reflect what am I not getting right here? Because before this heartbreaking experience, I think I just blamed guys and I thought they were intimidated by my success and my intelligence. But this guy, he was extremely accomplished. He was a lawyer from New York and, extremely attractive. And I could see that he wasn't intimidated by what I was able to achieve. And so when this connection fizzled out, I think it was for me a wake-up call that led me to, step up and take responsibility for how I was showing up in my love life. Because it's really easy to put the blame on men. It's really easy to just call them douchebags and it's really easy to call them losers. But it takes courage to look at yourself and it takes courage to take ownership of, what is my part in this equation? And I think that heartbreak led me to wanting to understand romantic relationships because I've always known that as a gold medalist, as an A student, I can crack my career. But love, if that part of your life is not right, no amount of money and no amount of achievement makes up for that. It's actually literally one of the biggest decisions you will make in your life, the person you marry. And so at a very young age, I started studying romantic relationships while still pursuing my career in as a trained economist. I was working for the International Labour Organization in Geneva. And then, of course, the lessons I learned from, diving into so many romantic experts, books, podcasts, just really starting to learn about what is it that takes a high-achieving woman of today to have a happy personal romantic relationship. The lessons I learned changed my own personal life so drastically. So literally I went from, having terrible experiences with men in dating. So I was on a full scholarship for my master's in public policy in Germany. And I started dating in Germany. And I just came across this culture where everyone just wanted to get into your pants really fast and nobody was wanting to put in the effort, get to know you, get to appreciate what you offer beyond your physical attractiveness. And so I was having a really hard time. And then within a year of doing this work, studying romantic relationships, I think my love life went a complete 180. So I started to attract really great guys and I knew how to hold my boundaries and they wanted to court me. They wanted to get to know me. And I wasn't anymore like this overnight, entertainment, but I was somebody that they were considering, for, a long-term serious commitment. And I rotationally dated. That's something I'll be very happy to talk about.
Yes, that's something we talk about further in the podcast. But then in your studies and when you were doing this deep dive and your research, did you find that love has a formula? Because then maybe some steps that you know definitely work. So are you saying that love has a formula?
Absolutely, yes. So while every man and every woman is different, I do believe there are generic principles of success that we can universally apply for high value, healthy mate attraction.
It's because like we've grown up in India, we've grown up watching Bollywood movies, we've grown up saying like different sorts of love stories, but like that every love story is different, every love story functions on a different formula. But then you're saying that there's one equation that might work for a lot of people.
I would say there are healthy principles that will lead to success if applied, right? And I would also say, like, growing up, I also saw Shah Rukh Khan and Bollywood. And I think there's a lot of misconception around in today's modern dating landscape because it's become so fragile, it's become so unsustainable. Like, people are really hurting right now. I just want to give the message that love exists. I have that love, and I think that's what got me, just finishing what we were talking about, for the year I dated, I met such great guys and they treated me so well. So it totally blasted my misconception that there are no good men out there. I mean, check your belief systems, because I had to work on my belief system. I had to first believe that good men exist in order to attract a good man. And then he proposed within 9 months. And, we're happily married for over 11 years. We have 2 beautiful boys. I have a multi-7-figure company that I am the CEO of today, and he's extremely proud of me. He loves my, he loves
ambition
my
and your drive.
ambition, my drive, but he also loves the fact that when I'm home with him, I'm not CEO. When I'm home with him, I'm a sweet, nurturing woman that, his partner, a woman. And basically, long story short, we moved to Paris after we got married because my husband was working there for the European Space Agency. And I saw this advertisement come up on Facebook as if by a stroke of destiny. And it said, do you have a message that has changed your life? And do you know other people who could be helped with that message? And do you know that if you professionally trained as a coach, you could spread that message and actually, make a career out of it? And I was like, that's my thing. And so this transition from being a trained economist to being a love coach literally came from this drive and this passion to know that I had hit upon messages that completely changed my life, and that I wasn't the only woman who was struggling in her love life. I was surrounded by beautiful, intelligent women who just couldn't get it right with guys. Who went for the wrong men, or who overperformed, or who tried too hard. All those kind of energies exist in dating. And so it's been no looking back ever since. We're in 90 countries of the world. I serve so many amazing women from all parts of the world, from all careers, and we have a terrific track record of success and results, which is, I think, what separates my work, and which is why I think I have the success I have, because I don't just give dating advice for theory. My advice actually works in the practical world to give you results. And I think results is what people come to us for.
Yeah. Because you said that women who overdo and over-deliver, like right in the beginning of the relationship, I think I'm one of those women when I'm like trying to date, is like, I think it's a nice guy. In my head, I build him up and I'm like, listen, I'll do anything for this person. I need to be the best person for him. Whatever he needs, I need to address it. And I feel also because now dating apps have come into play especially for people in my generation, like who are now looking for something long-term, people above 25, 26, is when we are swiping on dating apps, it's all becomes so disposable. I'm judging basis looks, whatever I see, like 4 lines I've read about him, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this person's great. And then I just go into this expecting that something great will come out of it. And then I think it's basically a barrier between expectations versus reality, because chances are that person is just looking for something very short term. So where I'm going with this is that when we sign up for coaching and different programs that you offer, your brand offers, what do we address? Like, how do you get women to embrace their femininity? Is
I think you've made some great points there, Priyam. And I think what's important to understand is, you take it step by step. So the first thing that you talk about is this overperformance energy. So I think in my work, I call it pedestaling a guy.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is pedestaling a guy? Pedestaling is basically projecting on somebody. So you have very limited pieces of information about this person. You see them on Instagram or you see them on a dating app.
Yeah.
They've put 4 curated pictures there. They've said something about themselves, and you have no real life experience of who they are. But now, with the limited information you have, your mind is going to start making an image of who they are.
Yeah, you build an image of themselves in your head.
Absolutely. And I call this pedestaling, and I think it's a really bad idea because what pedestaling does is it leads us to try and force a connection with somebody who we don't really know, who has not proven themselves to us and who has not earned our trust, but where we are trying to do the work to make the connection happen.
Yeah.
And that's hardcore masculine energy. It's not really an organic connection. It's a connection that you are trying to make happen. And the minute you try to make something happen, you enter masculine energy. And masculine energy is really just doing energy. It's action energy. And I think the women of today, including myself when I was single, we achieve everything in our career by doing, right? Like, it's like if you didn't go for it, if you didn't crack it, if you didn't work for it, you wouldn't get it, right? Yeah. And this is a great energy to have in your career. Absolutely, 100%. Like, as a CEO, if I just sat at home in my feminine energy, I wouldn't create the success I have today. However, when I take that same energy in my love life, now there starts to emerge a problem there. And that problem is that I'm attracted to masculine men. Okay,
Yeah.
So as a woman, from an evolutionary psychology perspective, I want to be with a man who can protect me, who can look after me, who can provide. And when I'm in my masculine, I attract the opposite. So this is polarity at play. So I'm going to attract more effeminate men. I'm going to attract men who can receive but not give. I'm going to attract men who are more interested in taking from me than giving to me or nurturing me. Because if I'm in my masculine and I'm the giving energy, then he has to be in the receiving energy in order for that dance to work.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that you end up attracting lazy guys. They don't even plan dates. And you're like, oh, if I don't plan, nothing happens. If I don't call, he doesn't call. If I don't text, he doesn't text.
Yeah.
And so masculine energy is not your friend in dating because it will literally help you attract the guy that you don't want. And, in the beginning, if you're in the habit of giving, doing, performing, going into overdrive, it feels good because it's addictive. It's like, it's what I do at work. It's what I do in my personal life. And you might even enjoy the rush you get from it in the beginning stages of dating, but you're literally setting the blueprint for how the relationship is going to look like later on. So we have a lot of clients who come to us and they're like, he doesn't plan, he doesn't text, he doesn't bring me flowers, he's not romantic, he doesn't initiate intimacy. Like, it's all on me to do this, And I'm like, okay, let's go back a few months and see how this started and how this dynamic developed.
Right.
And it's usually because you have been in your masculine. Now, just for a moment, take a glimpse on what it would look like if you were in the feminine. So if masculine is action and doing, feminine is being and receiving. So I could literally be surrounded by many men, and if I do nothing, I trust that the right man will walk up to me. I trust the right man will be in my inbox. He'll ask me for my number. And I think this trust in the masculine is highly damaged because women are so in their masculine in today's dating landscape that it's hard for us to trust that if we stop doing all the work, the man will step up and do the work.
Yeah, and especially for high ambition women who are so used to going after anything and everything that they want in their life, in their career, with their families. I call this the elder daughter syndrome, like in India. every elder daughter has like these things that she has set up in her head and she wants to go for it, right? So we are so driven in our careers, we're so driven in our life, with our family life, we take onus of all responsibilities. So we think that if I stop making an effort towards dating or finding men who would want to date me, this will never happen for me. So how does this femininity approach help, especially these women who are so used to taking control of everything and are control freaks at their workspace, not be a control freak in their personal life?
I do think you have to use your masculine energy, and I think this differentiation is important. You have to use your masculine energy to go on the app, to set up an amazing profile, like a 10 on 10 profile, amazing pictures. If you want to attract a quality man, I think you have to remember visuals matter. But then after that, let him do the work. So it's not about not using your masculine in dating. It's about using your masculine in dating for yourself, but not on men. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
So when a man comes in front of you, you want to trust him that if he likes you, it's not a choice for men. Like if they're attracted to you, they know it, right? Like they feel it. And then instinctively they will want to move towards you, and all you have to do is let them do it.
Yeah, like right before we were chatting and you said men are simple creature. If they're not in your inbox, they don't want to be in your life.
No, exactly. Yeah, men are really simple creatures. I think our women's brains complicate stuff. We tell ourselves, oh, he's playing games, oh, he's testing me. But the amount of testosterone a man feels for a woman he's physically attracted to, like he's gonna
Make sure
hit
that
you
he
on
hit on you
on your
relentlessly.
WhatsApp. He's gonna flirt with you. He's gonna want to take you out. The symbols are really clear. The signs are really clear. And what I also want to say is that, you know, if it's a toxic guy, sometimes they prey on women's insecurities. So they will purposefully not approach you. They will purposefully ignore you. But that's like 5% of the man population. Like most men are very simple creatures. If they like you, their energy will come towards you.
Because most of our listeners are still navigating the dating world, what do you think are the most common red flags a woman should avoid while looking for the partner or somebody they spend their life with?
I mean, there are so many red flags. We could write a paper on this. I wish we
tell
just
me
had a few.
top 5 that
Okay,
we
let's
should
talk
avoid.
about the top 5. I think never date a guy who says he's looking for some fun. Okay? He's telling you straight up what he's looking for, and don't like try to change him or change his mind or tell yourself that I'll be the woman who'll convince him, you know, because this is all masculine energy. Convincing or trying to change somebody's goal in life in their relationship stage is like you're making him a project that you're willing to work hard for. Like, why would you do that? Like, somebody's just being nice to you by saying, you know, I'm looking for something casual, I'm looking for some fun. Trust him on that.
Okay, and
better
move on.
avoid
If
it.
you're looking for fun, do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just move on. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about looking for fun culture in just a moment. And I think red flag number 2 would be any kind of, for me, if his actions don't match his words.
100%.
Because just imagine living with somebody who says, I'll pick you up tonight at 7, and he's not there at your doorstep. Okay, if he's at your doorstep at 7:15, it still works. But if he's not at your doorstep by 7:30, imagine so many moments piling up where he said something but didn't follow through. How crazy would that drive you? You know, one of the things I really admire about my husband, Chris, is that guy is solid. Like, if he says something, he'll do it. And I know that I can rely on him with my eyes shut. And I think that is so incredibly attractive. Like, that's true masculine energy. It wants your well-being. So if a guy continues to disappoint you by promising you things and then doesn't follow through, that's a huge red flag. And instead of trying to change him, ask yourself, you know, why do you put up with this? Because then, of course, it comes down to self-esteem and self-love. And, you know, what do we think we deserve? We get the love we think we deserve. So working on that would help. I think red flag number 3 is lying. Like, anybody who
Lying, excuses.
like doesn't hold their word, anybody who can change facts just to suit themselves, you can't spend a life with such a person. I think At a more nuanced level, red flag number 4 would be a man who can't respect your no. And this is really important because I think especially in countries where we are still fighting patriarchy, I think it's so important that as a woman, you say no and he's able to respect your no. And that no could be sex, but that no could be at so many levels. Like, I don't want to be alone in the kitchen. No, I'm not doing this alone. Like, I need your help here. And somebody who goes nuts on you because they don't like your answer or they don't like that you're not doing what they thought you should do, I think that's a huge red flag. A healthy relationship requires that a man is able to handle your no. And of course, it goes both ways. You're also able to handle his no. Like, your rights are not above his rights. He also has rights. He can also say that, no, I don't want you to check my phone. I find it an invasion of my privacy, right? So, but like handling a no, if he can't handle your no, it's a major red flag. And I think red flag number 5 would be just somebody without a purpose, I would say. Like, lost men are not just not attractive, I think they can be a huge drain on you mentally and emotionally. So I would never personally want to date somebody who didn't stand for anything, didn't have a purpose in life, didn't have ambition to get somewhere, right? Like, you don't always have to be a multi-7-figure CEO, but you have to have purpose. There should be something you work towards. And if somebody lacks that, I think it's a major red flag.
And what are the uncommon ones that we don't know, but because you have trained so many women, you realize that, listen, this is something that people don't talk about, but it's such a huge red flag?
I think that's a great question. I'll have to think about the 5,000 plus clients I've served. I would say one thing that stands out is men with temper. I think women think it's part of a relationship that a man screams at you. This is natural. It's going to happen.
And it's something they ignore in the beginning, thinking it'll get fixed or it's just temporary.
Temporary.
Yeah.
Or I had a client who said that the guy she was dating had slapped his previous partner because she had provoked him. And I was like, you're still dating him? And she said, yeah, but he hasn't slapped me. And I was like, if he's crossed the line once, he's going to cross the line again. So there are just some, I think when we are physically attracted to somebody, when we project on somebody, we like somebody, it is so easy to ignore these signs. But these are exactly the things you shouldn't be ignoring. Like how he talks to you when he's angry, how he talks to you when he's upset, how he talks to you when he doesn't like what you're doing, how he talks to you when he thinks another guy is interested in you. Does he go nuts on you? Does he go mad on you? Jealousy, possessiveness. We think these are part of a relationship, but they're not part of a healthy relationship and they should not be accepted.
Yeah. Another red flag that I have personally discovered is how they talk about their exes. If they, no matter what experience they've had, if they badmouth the person they were dating last, they will badmouth you or not respect you because they were dating the person. You were in love with that person and you have the capability to talk about them in a bad way. It's just, I think, puts you in a very bad light.
Yeah, I think it's a sign of lack of emotional intelligence because I have to give it to men. Yeah. Sometimes exes can be crazy and there's no other way to describe them. But I do believe with emotional intelligence, we can talk about that experience as a gift and, we can have compassion for the person we were with. Absolutely.
Right. You mentioned rotational dating as a strategy. Please tell us about it. We don't know anything about it. What is rotational dating? What are we supposed to do in it? How does it work?
Absolutely. So rotational dating is a concept that actually got me on Time magazine and Forbes magazine and Business Insider and BBC, and they were all so interested. So it's very natural you're curious about it. So I think the first thing, because I'm sure men are listening to this as well and watching this, rotational dating is not rotational sleeping, okay? That is absolutely undignified behavior. And I think no man who is high value and no woman who is high value, wants to come across this way or indulge in such behavior. So when I talk about rotational dating, I literally talk about getting to know many men. Okay, but in an emotional connection kind of way. Okay. So they're courting you, they're your suitors, but they don't get access to your bed. that's the whole point, right? I think dating today is so highly sexualized that we have become desensitized towards building an emotional connection. And I believe when you get to know more than one man at the same time, while you're not sleeping with them, you really get to spend time with them. You really get to know them as a person. And then, of course, slowly the connection will build and your man funnel will reduce.
So you're saying that top of the funnel should be more people, and then we filter out and we find the right person.
Absolutely. So lots of leads at the top of the funnel. And then gradually when you're having those conversations and you're probably going on lots of first dates, some will materialize into second dates. And then by the third date, you're already building a connection.
So your pipeline is getting shorter. After every
and that's
date.
a good thing, right? Like it's not, I think a lot of people say dating is about numbers. You know, I don't agree. I think dating is about maybe numbers at the top level, but then ultimately it's about quality, right? Like if you meet two good men, one of them can be your husband. And I think the mistake that a lot of women make is that they have a very small funnel at the top. In fact, they just have one lead at the top, right? They'll talk to one guy, put him on a pedestal, overinvest, overgive, and then get their heart broken, then stop dating for months because then there is a recovery phase where you waste all your precious time weeping over somebody who wasn't worth it in the first place. And, you know, I also like to talk about as empowered women, like if I'm talking to empowered women, like who likes to just have one ice cream flavor on the menu? Like if you only taste vanilla, how can you know how good chocolate tastes, right? So I think at the top of the funnel, you need to have a menu of choices, you know, and it's amazing because when I was rotational dating, I was like, oh, he's a banker, but he's not as masculine. And this guy is a university professor, but he's really masculine in his energy. And these were connections I couldn't make if I was just dating one person, you know, or if I was just getting to know one person, right? So I think what we also do is we immediately associate dating with sleeping with somebody. Okay? And I'm sure everybody who's watching this right now is going like, oh, but like what happens when he makes a move? And the answer is nothing happens when he makes a move because you want the decision phase, the evaluation phase to be much longer than what we're currently doing.
So you actually get to know the person without, because I'm sure physical contact can give you a false impression of intimacy in your head.
Absolutely. I mean, as women especially, I think men can segregate sex from emotional connection. But the way women's brains work is everything is interconnected. So once you sleep with him, you're going to ignore red flags. Oxytocin is going to flow. And oxytocin is a very powerful hormone. I mean, it's the hormone that starts labor. It's the hormone that brings breast milk into a mother's body. You know, it's really powerful. And so when you sleep quickly with a man, you lose your sense of evaluation and you tend to overinvest and you often tend to ignore the red flags. And so like one big piece of advice, if there's one big piece of advice I can give every woman, is to really treat sex as sacred. Like really treat your body as a temple that you only share with somebody who has earned it.
And playing devil's advocate here, this applies to men as well. Like they should also be rotationally dating.
I think they already do. They don't need help with that. I don't know a single man who talks to just one woman, you know.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, like most smart men who are extremely successful, they have many options. Of course, you have to think of, you know, where somebody's at their life. Where is somebody in the dating market based on their attraction quotient? I mean, if a man is not very attractive, he's not very successful, he doesn't have many options. But like the circle I move in, my friends have a lot of options. They meet a lot of attractive women. And they're not going to stop talking to like one woman because they like this woman. Like they're going to like evaluate. They're going to see. They're going to play the game, right? And I think the truth is that when you look at evolutionary psychology, everyone wants the best mating partner. Everyone asks themselves, can I do better than this, right? Which is both a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's a good thing because that's how nature and evolution, wants the best offspring. Okay. However, in today's dating landscape, we overdo rotational dating.
This is what the dating apps are doing as well. Playing onto
Exactly.
that psychology
Exactly.
that you can get somebody better.
Yeah, so I think that is a mentality I do not encourage. So when women work with me, I'm like, you've got a really good guy here. He loves you, he likes you, he's loyal, he's not playing the field after a few dates. Like in the beginning, you can expect every man is talking. Like you can't expect a guy who just met you to not talk to anybody else. Like it's really immature to expect that. But as a connection grows and he's loyal and he's showing up for you and he's giving you all the signs, you want to value that.
Yeah.
And I think this goes both for men and women, because I think both tend to want to see if I can have better than this. And it's like it's a moving goal. And that's why you see many attractive men and women be single for so long, because they're like always playing the field and nobody wants to settle down.
So when you're rotationally dating as a woman, am I supposed to tell the men I'm going on dates with that, listen, I'm also going on dates with other men? Or is this information just like, what do you suggest? Is this information?
So I don't believe in being dishonest. So if somebody would ask me, are you seeing other people? I'd say, yes, I am. I'm not sleeping with them, but I'm getting to know them over coffee dates. But otherwise, I wouldn't voluntarily offer this information.
Yeah.
It's like when you and I met, Priyam, you don't have to offer me information that XYZ.
Yeah.
You don't owe it to me.
Yeah.
So if you've just seen a guy for like date 1, date 2, date 3, you don't owe him that information, especially if he's not asked for it.
Yeah.
And if he's not asked you to be his girlfriend. So if he's not logged you down, a sensible, smart man is never going to assume that there is nobody else in your inbox.
Right. And because you've dealt with so many women and so many clients, what do you think is the biggest fear that blocks them or that stops them from finding the right man? Because is it the fact that they fear losing the man that they have in their life right now? Or like, have you discovered a pattern in women that stops them from getting into a serious relationship?
I think it depends on a woman's childhood, her experiences, right? So I think intellectually we can all say we want love, but when love knocks at our door, it can feel overwhelming, especially if it's a very successful woman who's always been in control of her life, always been in control of her decisions. Now she suddenly has to share space with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I've had clients who've told me, oh my God, now I'm going to have to coordinate my schedule with another person. Like I thought I was going to be free, right? So there can be this over-independence streak that strong, successful women have that can feel like a threat. So when a man comes close, it can feel threatening instead of feeling good. But I think it also is something that can happen to men. So a man may really like a woman, but when she comes close, she might instigate his intimacy fears. He might fear losing control.
Yeah.
She's going to control me. She's going to try and tell me what to do. He might fear that she's going to be a drama queen, that she's going to be hard work.
Yeah.
And that's why it could also, scare a man emotionally to be in a committed relationship. And I think the big answer to all these complex situations is self-awareness.
Right.
So if I can be aware that, oh, I like this person, but when they come closer, I want to run away instead of be with them. Now, let me take responsibility for this part. Because if I don't work on it, it's not going to disappear. It's just going to keep repeating as a pattern in other relationships.
Yeah.
So self-awareness is the key to healing. If you find yourself in a pattern where, when good people come into your life and then you get scared, you get cold feet, you don't commit, you want to run away, you want to see what's the next best thing out there. You could be married to Brad Pitt, for example, but there's still Daniel Craig, if you if your goal is a constantly moving post, that fear of commitment will always say, she's not the one, she's really lovely, but she's not the one. He's really amazing, but he's not the one. And at some point we have to face that this is maybe our pattern, that nobody is the one, and we have a constant moving goalpost, and we never really get to the destination.
So self-awareness and self-work.
Inner work. I call it inner work in my programs.
For both genders. Right?
Absolutely.
Equally. So they know exactly what
I think inner work and self-awareness is not a woman's thing, Although I do believe that women do it much more easily than men do. Right?
We're just more emotionally available, more emotionally sound,
Yeah.
more emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, I think you can have men have different strengths. I don't think emotion, like
Is
when you
one.
look at again evolutionary psychology, you see that men are more adapted to give stress response. And when you're stressed, like if there is war, if there is an enemy at your door, a man is not supposed to access his emotions. He's supposed to protect, he's supposed to do the right thing, he's supposed to make decisions, right? So the stress response for men is to actually suppress their emotions, whereas for women it's like we feel so much under stress, and we have the emotional intelligence now
Yeah.
to, of course, manage our emotions with our rationality. But you can say that we have faster access to emotions than men do because they are wired differently.
Right. So the end goal that we're pushing through the programs and love coaching is marriage. But as a world, do you think marriage is essential? Like since like my generation and like people younger than me, we are moving away from marriages. People are in polyamorous relationships. People are in open relationships. What's your take on marriage as an institution?
I still believe in the institution. I still believe it's one of the biggest forms of security that a woman can have. I still believe that when married, people try a little more before they give up.
Yeah.
And I like that about marriage. And I think having and choosing the right partner is like winning the lottery. I think people don't understand the value of having the right partner. Like in 11 years of being married, I just look at how rich my life is because my husband is there and he's got my back. And I truly believe that while as a woman I want to take full credit for my success, I believe his love and the safety it provides in the context of our marriage is such a powerful force behind this success. And I think all this skepticism around marriage is coming from just bad experiences. Like people see not many successful marriages anymore.
Yeah.
And that's because we don't work on ourselves. We don't do the work,
Yeah.
right? Like love is something where it is the common denominator in literally everybody's life. Everybody has a personal life, a romantic life. But everybody just thinks it's going to work out on its own. We didn't learn the skills of healthy relationships at school. We didn't learn the skills of healthy relationships at university. And we're somehow supposed to just figure this thing out
Yeah.
as we go
And not
along.
everybody is willing to put in the work that it takes to be in this relationship constantly and bring out your best self.
Like I literally had a client tell me that when she signed up to work with a trainer, everybody like clapped for her and said, well done, you're prioritizing your health. And then she said, I signed up to work with Sami Wunder in Elevate, and people went, why do you need love coaching? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're an attractive woman. And so I was like, wow, we have a society where if people do the work on their body, people clap. But if people have the courage to say, what, this part of my life is important, I also want to work on it. I want to develop the skill set around it. I want to understand what does it take to have a healthy relationship. Then people go, you need that? And I would love to change this mentality, because you want to see your love life as important as your health. You want to see it as important as your career. And you want to have the same amount of input to have this as a success. Like you give so much of your time, energy to your career, and so little to your personal life. And yet, I've had clients, they'll have 6-figure launches and then they'll come back and they'll fight with their partner, and it's so lonely and it's so disappointing to be in that equation. But they will not ask for help, because I think we have this attitude of shame around asking for help in our personal life. Something must be wrong with me, and I just have to be able to figure this out on my own. And if I struggle, then something's wrong with me. And by the way, my girlfriend could do it on her own, so why can't I do it on her own? Well, you and your girlfriend are not the same people. You and your girlfriend could have completely different childhood role models. You and your girlfriend could have, she could have had a really loving parent experience at home. You, on the other hand, had an emotionally unavailable father. You, on the other hand, saw conflict in your parents' relationships. And I think we just we don't even ask ourselves, how am I different from this person? We just go like, oh, if she could get a husband by herself, why do I need to get help in this? So I think we have to invite people to have more healthy conversations about relationships, normalize people struggling in relationships. I don't think there is a single person watching this right now, man or woman, who's not been through heartbreak, who's not felt feelings of rejection, who's not felt feelings of abandonment, who's not asked themselves, am I good enough? Am I attractive enough? What's wrong with me? Why am I in this situation? And so if we could talk more about these things and we could normalize this, these are all human experiences. And just like we need help learning any language, any new skill, we can learn the skill of healthy relationships if we are willing to do the work.
You have a lot of celebrity clients, some that we can't even name, and there's a very common saying that we've heard that it's very lonely at the top. Is it like, what is the experience like dealing with women who are global icons and are single? How are you helping them? What's happening there?
I think it's been a very humbling experience. I feel deeply honored that these amazing women decided to work with me and, hire my services. And I would say that for me, it just shows that we're all universally connected and we all experience the same emotions. No matter what level of success you have, your loneliness is not different from a global icon's loneliness. Your self-doubt is not different from a global icon's self-doubt. And so for me, it's been a very humanizing experience, I would say, because when you meet these people, you put them on a pedestal, right? You think like, oh my goodness, she has 500,000 fans, she has 1 million fans, and, she's performing big concerts, and, everybody knows her name. And then when you meet her, she too has the same emotions. She's like, I texted him and he didn't text back.
And if people like her are getting ignored, like, it's just like, to me, it's, I can't decipher it. Like, Taylor Swift is a very big example of, in one of her documentaries, she talks about how she won this great award and she came back home to nobody, and that was so lonely and humbling for her as well. It's just crazy.
Absolutely. And I think I'm truly living my gift in this world. I think I'm really doing what I was meant to do, and that's why at such a young age, I also felt some similar emotions where, I'd get a promotion at work and then I'd come home to an empty home, and nobody like celebrating with me. And it made me realize at a very young age that do not neglect your love life in the name of your career. I think feminism is very important. I think especially if we look at countries like India, etc., I think our grandmothers and our mothers, they've worked so hard to have the rights we have as women today. And, the fight is not over. It's still very much on. And at the same time, we have to look at the opposite spectrum of that fight, which is this over-independence, this masculine energy. You want to make sure that in the drive to have that equality, you don't forget polarity in your personal life. Because trust me, you could control your way into a relationship. You could even convert a man you like. Ultimately, your heart is going to crave him wanting you.
Fair.
And when that is missing, it doesn't help that you converted him, you won him. Ultimately, your heart will want to be with somebody who also wants you and chooses you and actively shows that to you. And I think this is what a lot of my celebrity clients have to learn, because their careers are all about masculine energy. And of course, they need that. I need that. You need that. But they have to learn to tune into their feminine in their love lives and receive from men, especially masculine men, the kind of men they will respect. Because otherwise, if you come across a strong woman, she's just going to take you for a ride. If as a guy, you don't know what you're saying, you don't know what you're doing, you're not in control, she's not going to respect you for long. Women have a radar for that. They can sense if a man has true confidence and if he knows himself and if he can stand for what he believes in, or she can take him for a ride. So, I have found that every once in a blue moon, my husband will draw a boundary. He'll say, sorry, not this. And I'm like, ooh, that's hot. He can say no to me. I like it. So, just really learning to lean into your feminine. This is what these women need a lot. And they also need boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I think when they love, they can love too much.
Yeah.
And they
Right.
can forget themselves in that process. And so when they work with me, I'm like, you're a queen at your work. Look how strong your boundaries are at work. What if we brought that even with the man we love?
Fair. And after dealing with so many female clients, have you realized that there's an underlying philosophy or this one equation that really works? Like, without disclosing too much about the program, which we have to pay for, but and I'm sure like you're doing so well, you've built a $1 million company. But is there one philosophy or like one advice that you would give to women who are actively looking to date? Number one advice is they should come to you, but advice number two is something that you want to leave us with.
Stop expecting men to love you if you don't love yourself.
Love yourself first, and then
You have
others
to
will.
you have to understand that love is not self-abandonment. And I think the way most women love is they abandon themselves for the person they love. Until today, I see my mother first, make sure my dad has taken his vitamins before she gives them to herself. And I'm
Yeah.
like, Mom, you could also do this the other way around. You could first ensure your cup is full, and then you can let that overflow, that love overflow to dad. And I think we have to reverse the psychology. We have to put ourselves first. We have to understand that nobody can see the goodness in you and the worthiness in you till you see it within yourself first.
Yeah.
So we have to shift this thinking that when we love somebody, we have to abandon ourselves for that love. And if you stop abandoning yourself and you really love yourself and you really understand that, a man can only mirror back to you what you think you're worthy of,
Yeah.
that's where I think the dynamic shifts.
In the years of doing this, what's the most interesting love story that you have come across? Like one of your clients, if you want to tell us.
Oh my God, I have so many interesting love stories. Interesting from what angle?
The first one that comes to your mind, like maybe it was, I don't know, it went through a roller coaster. She was sure, he wasn't sure, then he was sure, she wasn't sure. I'm thinking of a Bollywood movie.
So I had a client whose guy was crazy about her, but would constantly get cold feet when she would talk about getting married.
Yeah.
And basically she came to us and said, the BBC called you the Get the Ring coach. Like, can you help me get the ring?
Yeah.
And I was like, you should let him know that you're not here to play games. You've been dating for a year, and if he can't put a ring on it, you're leaving.
Yeah.
She was like, but isn't that an ultimatum? I'm like, no, it's not an ultimatum. It's you valuing your time and energy. If you want to keep investing in this connection, then you have to know that you both are on the same page. And she was like, did I pay thousands of dollars to like dump my guy? I was like, you either trust the expert or you don't.
Yeah.
And so she went and had this conversation with him where she said, I really love you. I really value what we have. But this getting cold feet about marriage all the time, I want to have a family. I want to have kids. I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work for you, we don't have to keep doing this anymore. And they broke up. And he left. And he moved countries. And she stayed in America. He went to Canada. And she couldn't stop crying. She was like, he's the greatest love of my life. I said, just go no contact.
Pedestaling. She was pedestaling.
I said, just go no contact. If he loves you and if this relationship was meaningful to him, he will come back. He will know what he lost. But for that, you have to give him time to process it. You have to give him time to connect with his heart. He's too much in his head right now. He's in his fears about commitment. But he has to get into his heart, and he has to acknowledge that this person is really important to me. I love her. And I still remember the day when on the Facebook group she posted, ladies, divas, guess what happened? The doorbell rang. I opened the door. It was him. He went down on his knees and proposed with a ring on my doorstep. And he said
the country.
he left the country. He came back. She had blocked him everywhere. He just showed up with a backpack and a ring. And when she opened the door, he was standing there. And she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to say. She screamed. She hugged him. They sat, they had a conversation. She accepted the ring, and they're happily married now. And their parents, they had a daughter.
How sweet.
Yeah.
So once your clients are maybe married, engaged, etc., do they still come to you maybe like 3 years into their marriage saying, listen, I'm having problems?
You know, that's such a great question. We do help women in relationships, but what we found is that if you've used the Sami Wunder philosophy to attract your partner, you're likely not likely to come back because it's such a great relationship. So, you know, I believe that it's not a big deal to attract a guy. I think if you're working with attractive women, they have options. They can attract any man. But the kind of relationship we help our clients attract, the standards are so high, the boundaries are so good, you really meet the love of your life. And the great thing about meeting the love of your life is not that it's all hunky-dory and there's never any conflict, but you know how to settle it out. You know how to work through that conflict because the foundation is so solid and rooted in love.
But if there was a piece of advice that you'd want to give to couples who've been in a relationship for a while just to get that spark back, what would it be?
Polarity. I think it's so easy once, especially, you know, when we look at clients who become mothers, you know, their whole focus goes on the kids and the partner is totally neglected. And often we will stop looking after ourselves. We will stop going to the gym. You know, I know this happened to me, you know, and my husband is like the most kind, compassionate man. And then at 6 months after my first baby was born, you know, I was really sedentary. I was just at my laptop. I had gained so much weight. And he just lovingly said to me, he said, honey, you're such a beautiful woman. You know, you should look after yourself. He didn't even say go to the gym. He said, you should just look after yourself, you know. And I was so angry at him. I was so pissed. I thought I'm not going to talk to him the entire night. And I didn't. But then the next day I was like, wow, that's a man reminding you, love yourself. Don't ignore yourself. And so I think in long-term relationships, it's really easy to lose the spark, especially when children come into the picture, because then as a mother, you feel responsible for those little lives. And again, you use that as an excuse to abandon yourself. And of course, it reflects on your partner because this is a romantic relationship. It needs attraction. It needs, you know, physical attraction. It needs passion in the bedroom. And often when you let yourself go or you hyper-focus on the children, you know, your marriage or your relationship gets neglected. So I would say, like, remember that loving your kids, loving your partner should never result in self-abandonment. If we could just remember this, and if we could treat ourselves as the source of the love first, you know, like I loving myself, that is the source of all the love I then give to my children, then give to my husband, you know, I think we'd all be so much happier in our relationships.
Thank you, Sami. I think that was super insightful. I'm going back with 3 things: no to pedestrianing, yes to rotational dating, and big yes to loving yourself. But it was great having you here. I'm just like so intrigued and like so just filled with insights. But we'll leave a link to your website in the description so everyone can go check it out. And yeah, thank you for coming today. It was
Thank you for having me and asking all those amazing questions.
Yay.